All right. Hello, everyone. This is Group 5, Discussion 2. So today we are talking about sources of power and influence. What'd you guys think? Looks like first part of the prompt is situations in which you employed various sources of power and influence. So any specific situations that you guys came up with?
I guess kind of years ago, I used to work as a horse trainer, and oh gosh, I can hear myself talking. Sorry. I used to work with people who just started getting into horses, so they would rely on me a lot for like big decisions, purchasing new horses, and all that. So I guess that would kind of fall under like what is it called? Not expert. Now I just already forgot the type of power. Expert power, I guess, technically, in a way, because I was very quote-unquote skilled. I mean, not like a doctor or something, but people relied on me for their big decision.
I think that totally applies.
Had an influence. Yeah. That's come up with in my life so far.
It's off topic, but like, what kind of horse training did you do?
I worked with horses, and I helped people get into horses. So I used to compete in Western dressage, but I didn't really train horses. Yeah, so you're familiar with horses?
I did. I rode English pleasure when I was in high school.
Oh, nice. Okay, awesome. Yeah. So you understand how big of an influence horse trainers can have.
Yeah, like I know that it's not necessarily something you like go to school, like get a degree or a certification for, but like it's definitely something that you need a lot of knowledge, and you have to rely on someone who knows about it.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm glad you understand. It's hard to explain it.
No, I know. Like, well, I grew up in a big rodeo town, and so it's like I was like one of the only people who rode English. And like my trainer was like one of the only ones that like taught English in like the town I grew up in. So like, I completely understand how important it is to have someone who's really knowledgeable.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Anyone else? I think we might have lost.
Sorry.
Oh, there
you can hear. Yeah, I'm here. I was looking up the in my book so I could reference it. Because we talked about, or Sarah was mentioning, like, what kind of power she likes to use. Or the question was, like, what power have you used before? So what as being a store manager, we have legitimate power. I mean, obviously there's a hierarchy in our organization. There's people below me of hiring and firing and things like that. And we are I'm the boss within my four walls. So that like kind of comes with the role, but I personally like to lead through reverent power, which is through role modeling. I want people to see, I want to be that example that like they want to meet up to, or that standard. I think acting the way, role modeling the behavior you want to see in your employees is important in being a leader. I really don't like it when a boss tells me something to do that they don't do themselves. I also like to lead through information power, just because I have a little bit more information than the rest of the staff. And then the last one was like kind of ecological power. I mean, in the back room, there's a back desk for the non-Starbucks people. It's all kind of shared, but it's my desk, and I get to organize it, and I get to tell people to keep it clean and everything else. So I kind of exert some of the power that way.
Makes sense. I agree. Well, as also a store manager, I agree that we have legitimate power, but it's not always the most effective. So you do have to rely on reverent power as well. Something that I've been learning, like I've been trying to develop towards district manager. And so I've been doing a lot of things like in my district. Like my district manager has been letting me lead our district meetings, things like that. And I've realized that like I can't rely on legitimate power when I'm working with my peers. So I have to influence them a different way. And so I've definitely been learning a lot more about expert and reverent power and how to influence people that I don't have any legitimate power over. And it all comes from building relationships and building trust is what I've learned.
Yeah. True.
What about you, Bobby?
I completely agree with everything that you said. I really think the type of power that you utilize really depends on the circumstances that you're in. Sarah made a really great point, or Erin, sorry. I'm sorry. Erin made a really great point about like working side by side and not asking your team to do something that you wouldn't do yourself. Whereas I'm the same way. Like I do everything. Like my team knows like I don't like to fold if I don't have to fold clothes. Like I'd much rather do something else, but I'm more than willing to go and do it, put the size strips on. I personally like to merchandise and I like to teach them how to merchandise. But it really just depends on the circumstances and when I use the power that I guess wield, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, definitely. Like that's something that I try to like instill in all my shift supervisors is, you know, sometimes people get the mindset of like, well, like I don't ever have to do like a trash run or scrub the drains. But like you should never ask anyone to do something that you're not willing to do yourself. So, I mean, you know, me, myself, well, I personally love cleaning drains. I think it's so fulfilling because they're so smart afterwards. But, you know, like there's stuff that I don't enjoy doing, but I make sure that I do everything in the store because I should never ask someone to do a task I'm not willing to do myself.
And to that point, like I think sometimes like I pick and choose the moments to show my staff. You know, do it like you said, doing the trash run in the rain, like in the rain, or if it's like really cold, like it gets really cold up here where it's icy. Like sometimes you kind of chin up and role model that behavior. I also think it kind of your staff may relate to you better instead of being kind of afraid of that legitimate power that you do have. I think it was the CEO of Southwest, Herb something. I forget his name. Herb Keller, maybe. Anywho, but he like made it like a legit point to like go down and put feet on the ground and kind of like work with the lower hierarchy people. And I think I think that's refreshing to see a leader stay humble in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's something that Starbucks has done fairly well because like the store manager role really is like you're on the floor so much. So you are like so close to the work, where if we modeled after some other like restaurants and fast food where like their general manager really isn't on the floor, it's like 40 hours of admin, we wouldn't necessarily have that same influence on our employees, and we would have to rely on legitimate power a lot more than that relationship and reverent power. All right. So the next part of the prompt is, we kind of talked about it, but how you link your source of power, like the source of power that you choose to use, how you link it back to your role as a leader. I feel like we kind of discussed it already, but was there anything else that anyone wanted to add to that?
No, I'm good.
No. Was there a part of the prompt that had to do with influence? I'm bringing it up now.
I think it was argumentative. I think the next prompt was like, what type of argumentative persuasion you have or something.
There is the next part of the prompt is the argumentative style, but the first part of the prompt does discuss sources of power and influence. So you're correct. Influence is part of it as well.
Okay. I guess it does it overlaps a lot, especially like expert power, I think, because you do appear more trustworthy, and trustworthiness is an aspect of influence. At least in my case, because like the other areas of influence, like having good speaking skills, and especially back then, I was very awkward and quiet. So I think my knowledge and my skills and proving myself, and actually people referring me, is what built people like I have more influence on people in that way.
Mm-hmm.
But other aspects, I feel like for the horse training like part of my life, I feel like I fell short of influence. That was like the only thing I had going for me is I was honest and trustworthy, and I knew what I was talking about. It sounds so self-centered to say, but I wasn't lying. I wasn't bluffing. I was sincere.
Well, it sounds like it's something you were really passionate about as well, and I'm sure people could sense that
yeah,
something you really enjoyed doing.
I did, yes, very much so.
All right. Do you guys want to talk about argumentative styles and how it impacts our use of power? So did anyone do that argumentative assessment in the book?
I haven't done the assessment yet.
Neither have I.
Me either.
Actually, I did it like 5 minutes before we got on here. And then I view my husband as very argumentative, like in a good way. But like, I was like, I bet I know what you rank as. And so I did it on him as well. And I was surprised that like, I am actually more argumentative than he is. I did not think that, but you know, I guess we all view ourselves differently, but the numbers don't lie.
True.
So, I ranked myself as high in argumentativeness, but I think it's like, I really like the way that the text defined argumentativeness, that it's not like about like fighting people. It's about like debate. And it's just when two people have a discussion, and they have different points of view. And so I always think it's really fun to talk to people who have a different point of view than I do. I mean, like, I know it can be a hard topic, but like in politics, I always enjoy talking to someone who maybe doesn't share my views, but you learn something from them. So in my opinion, you always come away from that kind of discussion with a fresh point of view, and you can understand a little bit more, and maybe, you know, it changes your mind on a few things that you thought that you just held absolutely.
That's very true and very wise, because a lot of people don't think that way.
I think all you have to do is like go on Facebook, and you can recognize that most people don't.
Yeah, exactly.
Which that's my husband. He's like the king of Facebook arguments. Like I never like engage with anyone on Facebook because I'm like, there's no point.
Yeah.
But he's like, I will write you an essay about this topic. Like, it's insane.
My husband does the same thing, and I'm like, it's just a waste of energy. I feel like like what you said, I think just even like politics or religion or whatever you want to talk about, there's always these like faux pas things like you're not supposed to talk about. Mm-hmm. But I like to just talk about it too, because I usually go in with an open mind. Like I might vehemently disagree with you, but I'm willing to listen and share and have a discussion. But I feel like most people just argue and just think that they're right and everyone else is wrong.
Yeah. I agree.
It's hard for me sometimes to enter into those debates. I think depending on the other person, because if I feel, I mean, just being completely honest, sometimes if I feel they're being kind of like aggressive with their points, or they're being like really super persuasive, I tend to get back down and maybe get shy, and I get nervous about my facts that I'm presenting in order to like have a great debate back and forth. So sometimes I just disengage altogether, and I think where if I felt more confident having some of that, I don't know, if I felt where I just sometimes I don't feel comfortable in arguments, and I back away. So I think we might differ in our scores on that then.
Well, I think I think that's really common though. Like I feel like the majority of people feel that way. So
I do.
And I also think it's interesting that you brought up Facebook, because I think internet has been a game changer, I think, in this whole debate scenario, or argumentative, because you can spew out all your feelings on a post and then just not follow and not worry about any rebuttals afterwards. Or, you know what I mean? You kind of have that privacy if you kind of troll like as somebody else's, comment or post or whatever. so I think I think the internet made us braver in certain aspects, but I also think it face-to-face argument, like being comfortable to have a debate face-to-face is important, especially in a group setting, maybe in work, you know what I mean, in a more professional environment. So yeah, so I think it kind of helps and hurts us.
Yeah. Well, I think like you make a great point that it can be helpful in a work setting. And I think that's kind of like the point that the book was trying to get to, is that like it's good to like have some like differing opinions in a group setting because it can generate better ideas.
Yeah.
But before you can be comfortable like arguing with someone at work, you have to have built those relationships and have good trust with one another, so that, you know, like if you say something, people are going to be like, that is the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because then you're not going to want to talk anymore. Yeah. And so like I kind of think that's how you can link it back to like, well, kind of the prompt, well, link it back to your source of power. But yeah, I kind of lost my thought there.
No, but there's also different points of like bad examples of arguments. You know what I mean? Like blowing things out of proportion and using generic topics, and then shoot, I forget the point. Hold on, I highlighted it in the book somewhere, but you got my point, right? Like there was different ways to like not help an argument.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, I need to remember these for my arguments with my husband. I was like, somebody like, you're exaggerating.
I definitely, just so you guys know, we have 2 minutes right now. But I agree, like, so I have to deliver a business analysis to my RD tomorrow, and like I have everything like written out. And I definitely, like, after reading this chapter, went back through it and was like, do all of my arguments make sense? Am I doing myself a disservice in any of them? So it actually was really helpful to be able to like look at that and then compare it.
Cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. It's gonna be
fun. And back to like debating or discussion in like teams in the workplace. It's kind of impossible when one of their team members is very toxic and doesn't want to listen, just wants to be like, no, you're wrong. So that's another thing about it. It's kind of like picking. I don't want to say picking and choosing your battles, but if you're not going to get anywhere, then you need to figure out another way in discussion. I haven't had any like toxic team members before, so I don't know personally, but witnessing it with other people or arguments in public, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you just can't debate with certain people. Your mind is set, and you can tell they're not going to budge. They're not going to budge at all.
Well, I think one of the recommendations in the book was like when you come across that to just exit the situation. Yeah. You know.
But what can you do? I mean, it's a dead end.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are just about out of time. So thank you guys so much. Any other final thoughts before we disconnect?
No.
All right. Well, then I will see you guys next week.
Cool. Thank you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.